All right, here we go. Math 1 peeps, this is the Slope 1 review. I'm going to get started. Pay attention as you go through. Pause the video if you need to. Try to predict what the answer is before you get to the answer that I give you. So that's the best way to learn. So make sure you're trying to predict your answers. Here we go. Let's get started. Okay, so we have two lines here. We have line A and line B. So here's line A, here's line B, and we're gonna identify some things in each of those lines. The first of which for line A is going to be the slope. So is it a -2 slope? Is it a 4/1 slope? Is it a -1/2 or 1/4? So if we're looking at line A, that's our solid line, okay? And we want to go through and pick our corner points, okay? So right where the graph, okay, notice how the graph is crossing our line here. See how it's really easy to pick out those corner points? That's how we're going to identify our slope in this case. We're identifying it visually. So we're going to go, the first thing you kind of need to think about it, remember, is that the slope is the rise over the run. So we have how much is it going up and down over how much is it running. And so we can do a fraction here, or a ratio even, that we can call it. So we can go up 2, so that's 1, 2, and we're gonna make a little slope triangle. And don't pick your pen up or pencil, so we're gonna go +2, so that's +2, and then we're gonna finish it -1. So don't go from this one and then go over to the top dot and go over here. You've gotta make a continuous line. So it's continuous, my pen's keeping on the line, so that's +2, and then over -1, so that's +2 over -1. And so we look over here, and the two that kind of come to mind, obviously it's not going to be this one and it's not going to be this one, right? So it's come down to either the -2 or the -1/2. Well, this actually says -2 divided by -1, which is -2. So if the 1 or the -1 is in the denominator, you're dividing into it, and it is going to be -2. All right, so next we're looking for our y-intercept. Where does it cross the y-axis here? And this point is 0, and we're gonna go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 0, 4. Okay, and then the next one, we are combining the information that we learned in from the slope and the y-intercept into a line. So you go through and you look for the one with the slope of -2. Okay, so there's only one with a slope of -2, and then a y-intercept of +4 and a +4 there, so it must be y equals -2x + 4. Okay. All right, next one up, we got our line B. We've got a slope of, well, I'm going to pick my corner points, all right? And we're going to go up 1 and then +3. So again, don't pick up your pen or pencil, and you just get a continuous line. So we're going +1 and then +3. Okay, and that's going to go on forever. We could pick it from here, +1 or over +3, and that's going to continue on forever. So our rise is 1 over 3. And so that's 1/3. So, and then we gotta go boom, right there. Perfect. Okay, the next one is our y-intercept, and we've got a y-intercept of 0, -3. Okay, and so that is right there. And then last but not least, we combine the information from the two things that we just learned. So I'm looking for a slope of 1/3 and a y-intercept of -3, and that is right here. We have 1/3 as our slope, -3 as our y-intercept. Okay. All right, up next we got number 2. Use the graph to complete the table. Find the slope and the y-intercept and the equation for the line. So we're kind of doing what we just did in the last one, again, just in a different format. So let's pick our lattice points, or I'm sorry, our corner points. Okay. And you can start from anywhere on there. I'm going to go from the left to the right, and I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and I actually did 6, but we only need 5 of these. And I want you to go in a row. So if you start up here, then pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to make sure that it's easiest if you pick them in a row. So our first one is 1, 1. Okay, so that is 1, 1. Our second one is 2, 0. So 2, 0. Third one is 3, -1. So 3, negative 1. And you guys should start seeing a pattern here, right? So the x's are counting up by 1, and the y's are actually subtracting 1. So the next one you should see here, without even going over to our graph, should be 4. And then if I'm counting down here, it goes 1, 0, negative 1, and then negative 2. And so let's double check this one over here. This should be 4, and if we guessed right, this should be negative 2. And then our last one, we could do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So what is the slope of this line? Well, the slope of this line is going to be positive 1. So I can even go up here, positive 1 over negative 1. Okay. So positive 1 over negative 1. And this could be simplified to negative 1. The other place we can see that is our y values are what's going up and down, right? And so each time this one is actually subtracting 1 as we go down, right? Negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. And this one is adding 1. So this is positive 1, positive 1, positive 1 each time, so it's adding positive 1 each time. And then we could say, well, our slope is negative 1 over positive 1 according to this, which is still negative 1. It's just a different, you're going in a different direction when we get the slope of the line going. When you see the positive 1 over negative 1, this over this is the same thing as this over this. So it's two different ways to see that same answer. Okay, so the y-intercept of the line, where it crosses the y-axis, you're looking for this big dark line, and it's got wherever your line is crossing the y-axis, and this point is 0, 2. So we have 0, 2. And then the equation of the line, you are taking y equals mx plus b, and so we have y equals x, and I'm leaving a space for our slope and a space for our y-intercept. And our slope is negative 1, so I've got that guy right there. And then our y-intercept is positive 2. And so we have y equals negative x plus 2. All right. So now I'm just going to ask, where our goal here is the slope of the line. And we're going to do it in a similar way that we just did the last problem. So this guy, you're going to be, looks like you're adding 1 each time for the x value. So negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1, and so on. Okay, so we're adding 1 each time. This one, we are subtracting, or we're adding what? We're adding 2 each time. So plus 2, negative 2 plus 2 is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. And then 4 plus 2 is 6. So our rise, or our y values, are 2 over 1. So our change in y is 2. Our change in x is 1. So it says, what is the change in y in the corner points? So our change in y is positive 2 each time. Our change in x is positive 1 each time. So the slope, I would accept 2 over 1, or I would accept 2. Okay, so our last one here, you are going to use this formula. The slope formula is the same type of thing that we're doing. Okay, it's just written in a different form, and we have our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the way I like to do this one is, some people try to do the y's and go back and forth, and then they forget the order that they're in. So what I have people do is actually just pick a point, and you say 5 is on top, its buddy goes under it. So it's x, its corresponding x has to go under it. And then you're done with that one, okay? And then 3 goes on top, its buddy goes under it. And we have 5 minus 3 is 2. And then 6 minus 6 is 0. And you can't divide by 0, so that's an undefined slope. Oops, there it is, undefined slope. All right, second page. Okay, so it says draw a line with a negative slope and a y-intercept of 0. So we're looking for a negative slope and a y-intercept of 0, 2. Okay, so y-intercept of 0, 2 is right there. So we have y-intercept is 0, 2. And a negative slope, you could pick any negative slope. So if you're struggling with like what negative slope is, or like, do I go this direction or this direction? Well, you could always make up a negative slope and say like, well, I'm going to go with a slope of -3 over 1. And that way you can say, well, if it's -3 on the rise, and it's +1 on the run, I know I can go down 3 and then over 1, and then I make a negative slope. This is not the only negative slope. You could pick -4, you could pick -5, you could pick -3 over +2, as long as one of them is negative. It doesn't matter. So if you didn't want to do that, you just have to know that the negative slope is going to go up in this direction. Okay, so number 6, I'm actually going to change this to a positive slope. Okay, instead of an undefined slope. So go ahead and change that to a positive slope on your review. And we want to draw at point 1, 2. So over 1 up 2. So I'm looking for, can you graph that point? That's a point on this problem. And then I'm looking for a positive slope. Well, you can see that the negative slope is going up in this direction, right? Like it's going up and to the left. Well, a positive slope is actually just going to go up and to the right. Okay, so negative slope is pointing up and to the left, positive slope is up and to the right. Okay, next up, graph a line. We are starting at -3, our y-intercept, so this is just another way of kind of looking at our y equals mx plus b. And so we have -3, and our slope is -2, and there is a 1 under it. So just remember that if it's just a whole number here, there's a 1 under it for our slope, and we have -2 over 1. And then we can actually go +2, -1. You can see that our line right here. There we go. Done deal. All right. Next up, graph the line 3x plus 2y. We could graph using y-intercepts, but it would give us a funny y-intercept it would give us a funny y-intercept. So the other way we can do this is actually by solving for y. And so I'm going to actually move this problem over here so we have a little room to work. It's always good practice in math never to work on the problem that's given to you, just in case you make a mistake and need to go back and redo it again. So we're going to subtract 3x. Okay. We're going to get this equation in slope-intercept, or in y-intercept form. And so we have 3x plus 8. And then we're going to divide by 2, and we have y equals -3 over 2x plus 4. Okay, and so we have +4 on our y-axis, so +4 here, and then our slope is -3 over 2, so we're going to go down 3 and then +2, down 3, +2, and that goes on forever. Okay, so you can go on forever with that slope. All right, getting close here. Got 3 problems left. Okay, so write the equation of the line in a slope-intercept form passing through point 0.5 and has a slope of 2. Okay, so we have done this 7 times on this test already. So we've done that. We did that in the very first problem right here, where we took a slope and a y-intercept and we put it in the equation form. Okay, we found the slope and the y-intercept, we put it in the equation form. Okay, and then last but not least, I guess not 7 times we've done it. This will be the 3rd time in the test. So we have our slope, which is 2x, and then our y-intercept of 5 plus 5, done deal. So we're taking our slope, putting it there, our y-intercept, there you go. All right, it says solve for y down here. That's exactly what you had to do on this problem to start with. So you're going to subtract the x value, and then 2y equals -5x plus 12, divide by 2, and we have y equals -5 over 2x plus 6. Done. All right, last but not least, it says use the point slope formula to write the equation of a line that passes through the points 2, -7 and 0, -3. Then simplify your answer. Well, this is a combination of, this is the Big Daddy problem. Like if you can do this one, you could do at least half of the problems on the test. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is find your slope, and you're going to do that using the slope formula. and you're going to take the negative 7, and Buddy goes under it. So negative 7, y on top, Buddy goes under it. So we're done with that. And then we have y on top, Buddy goes under it. And we're done with that one. Okay, so we've got negative 7, and then we've got a double negative here. So this is actually a positive 3. So negative times a negative is positive, and so we have negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. 2 minus 0 is 2, and so we have negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2 is our slope. And we can take that, and we can take our y-intercept, happens to have our y-intercept as one of the points. Isn't that convenient? And we have y equals negative 2x minus 3. All right, there we go. Good luck.